mixed up with supercell storms and the tornadoes they produce. You also need to keep in mind the funnel is the occurrence prior to tornado development. And a lot of times cloud features can be misconstrued as to be in funnel clouds, and in actuality they are not. And so it's important to be watching for when you're looking at hanger downers, I call them, or there's something different, is the look of that. You'll typically find in the case of a funnel cloud that the edges of that funnel cloud are usually fairly sharp and well defined. And you'll also see too that there should be an upward spiraling component taking place with that element. So in this case here, you can see the edges of that funnel cloud are fairly well defined. And this example here, again, a fairly sharp, well-defined edge to that funnel cloud. Now I want to compare that with this image here, where on the left-hand side you're looking at a precipitation shaft that looks kind of like a tornado. I mean, it's down to the ground, it's kind of funnel-shaped in appearance, but the important thing that you'll be watching for is evidence of upward spiraling motion taking place, and if in fact is in contact with the ground, there should be debris there as well. Now the image on the right-hand side, that's actually cloud fragments of a shelf cloud. And yet you've got these fingers that are down to the ground, but notice how ragged in appearance they are. That's really the key there, because even though they might have this cone-shaped appearance, they are very ragged in nature. You might see upward motion here because, again, what's happening at the leading edge of the shelf cloud, there is rising air out ahead of it, but is it distinct upward spiraling motion? No, that's not what's taking place. So be cautious with regard to what's something that you'll call a funnel cloud. Very well sharp and well-defined edges, that's what you're watching for. Now this one here, no question, what's taking place here. A very, very well-developed tornado at this point in time. And it's gradually moving from left to right, and it's approaching this roadway here, and eventually we'll cross it here. And here you have another truck that's coming down the roadway. In fact, as I look at it closely, it looks like a utility truck that's going to probably have to turn around here in a few minutes.
Yep, do some work.
So there you go. You've got an example of a tornado. I mean, there's no question of what's taking place there. Now, in this image here, you can see the entire sky is rotating. That's your wall cloud almost overhead, and look what's already taking place now.
See it? Yeah.
See it?
Yeah.
There it is.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. Let's get our popcorn.
Listen to your wife.
So here, the image is not great. I mean, this is also one of these what we call multi-vortex tornadoes. So the tornado itself is not very well defined. You got a lot of ragged cloud, but there's no question that there's a lot of debris that's being lifted upward, spiraling upward into the sky. So you have a tornado in progress there.
Quarter mile. Diggos, look at the house. The house is coming apart. Oh my God. Oh my God. Did you see that?
And so as you can see, the tornadoes can be quite significant. Now we have a wide range of tornado intensities that take place from the lower end tornadoes, what we call weak tornadoes, EF0s and EF1s, with winds for the most part below 100 miles an hour. They're usually short-lived tornadoes. They're usually a small size as well. And in the end, you'll see not necessarily a whole lot of damage that may result from those. They account for most of the tornadoes that we see. You can see about 69% of all of them, and very few fatalities. As we move up the ladder in intensity to the EF2s and EF3s with winds 110 to 165 miles an hour, they account for about a third of our tornadoes. They account for about a third of our tornado-related fatalities. And you can see on the bottom that the damage is much more significant. And by the time you get up to the most violent of the tornadoes, the EF4s and the EF5s with winds above 165 miles an hour, usually nothing is left above ground level with these tornadoes. And so we're very fortunate that it only account for about 2% of all the tornadoes that take place. But on the other hand, they account for the vast majority of fatalities that occur. So that's the range of gambits for tornadoes. Now tornado spotting at night.
Tornadoes on the ground.
A lot of times that's all you have to work with is a brief lightning flash that might help to you visualize that tornado. So it's a tough proposition. And that's the reason why we greatly appreciate all the amateur radio operators that are out there in the middle of the night, in the middle of Monroe County with trees up to the horizon that you can't see much going on. But just make sure you guys are in safe locations when you're doing that. And whoever's operating the radar, make sure that you know what part of the storm and who might be in the path of the worst part so they can skedaddle on out of there, get out of the path of that storm. Spotting at night is just a tough proposition. Any guesses on what you're seeing here? It's a tough call because you have ragged cloud edges there. It certainly is cone shaped. If you look for the upward spiraling, I would guess that's more than likely not a funnel or tornado-like feature because of the ragged nature that we see there. A lot like what you see here in these fingers that are feeding upwards into this shelf cloud that's marching from left to right here. So again, you can have these cloud elements that can be misconstrued as funnel clouds, and we hear those a lot. Now there's a lot of different products that you can use from the Weather Service that help you to get an idea of what's taking place, from well in advance the hazardous weather outlook that we put out every morning, to when it looks like storms are going to fire up into severe weather, the watch box being issued. When we have storms that look like they're pretty strong but aren't severe, we'll put out a strong thunderstorm advisory, and if we're expecting them to become severe, we put out warnings. So off of our website, that information is all available. You can find the products located here on the right-hand side, a matter of just simply clicking on that product and it will pop up. Here's an example of the hazardous weather outlook, which is broken into 3 pieces here. The first 24 hours, days 2 through 7, and then whether or not spotter activation or your help may be needed. So if anywhere in that 7-day time frame we're expecting the possibility of severe weather, we'll talk about it within this product here. So you have significant advance notice as to the potential of whether or not you might be needed to give us some hand with severe storms. If you like simple one-stop shopping, our weather story off our front page, here's an example of one of them there, and if there's something to headline out in time, you might see the headline down across the bottom like you see here. Use your local television folks. They're also a source of good information as well. Now this particular guy, I don't know if that's necessarily true or not.
It's moving on shore! And holy cow, it's on duty! It's on duty! 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Get the weather, get the weather, get the weather! Stop, Mark! Stop the weather! The guinea people pay attention to the weather!
So again, you don't see that taking place here locally. Our folks are a lot more professional than that. But the point being is that they're another source of information. You know, you don't want to necessarily rely on us alone. You don't necessarily want to rely on our website alone. You may have other great software tools like GR Level 2 data, for example, or you might be using Weather Underground. There's lots of sources of information that you can be using out there. And I simply look at them as just different tools in your toolbox, and you want to use as many tools as you deem necessary based on the circumstances. As far as what needs to be reported, here's a listing of those. If you had a chance to grab a pamphlet back on the table, this information is listed in here. If you didn't grab one, make sure you do on the way out the door. So as you can see here, we want to know about the tornadoes or the precursors, meaning the funnel clouds and wall clouds. We want to know where it's blowing hard, where it's caused damage, and if it is blowing strong, how strong it is. If you've got wind measuring equipment, let us know that you measured it, and if not, that you estimated it. We also want to know about hail of any size and any kind of heavy rain that might lead to flooding. Don't have to worry about telling us that there's a lot of lightning out there. All storms contain lightning, and there's not necessarily a correlation between lightning frequency and storm intensity. So we want to hear from you. We also want to know what's taking place, what you're seeing, where you're at, and what time it was taking place. But keep in mind your safety is most important, so if that means taking cover before you go ahead and report to us, we're fine with that. That's really the right thing to be doing. If you want to report to us with GPS lat lawns, that's great. If you want to report your street address, that's fine. If you want to report you're at 8th and Main, that's good. If you want to report that you're at County Road 300 South and 400 East, that's good too. But just some kind of position as to where this is taking place so we can tie that and the time you reported with what's taking place on radar. Hail again. Any size is good. It's small now, it might become larger later. And no, you don't have to go outside and pick up the hail and measure. Ideally, that's what we want you to do, but know, if it looks like it's golf ball size, just report it as golf ball size. That's good enough for us. That's severe size hail. Anything quarter and larger would be considered to be severe.